Hey y'all, how's it going? It's your R&B queen slash hospitality queen, Tierney, K-Positive Pinky. So I'm getting over sinus infection, but overall I'm doing a lot better than I was, but I'm still not 100%. I would say between 75 and 85%, like I'm getting there. But I would say I'm definitely doing a lot better than a couple of weeks ago, and it's just dragged on for like a month and a half. So sadly, a lot of times they last 2 months. And of course, I'm dealing with that chronic sinusitis thing that I deal with pretty much all the time. And like, I don't really have much answers except for managing it, which is just basically what it is. I mean, because there's nothing structurally wrong, there's just factors like stress, allergies. I mean, the allergies have been so bad lately. I've been really feeling it today, which is why I'm glad. I did do stuff about it. Like, I had a lot of spicy food, and that, kind of helped with my sinuses and stuff. You know, um, but on a more serious note, we have lost a lot of members of the mental community over the years. We lost Jason Ebling, who was one of the faculty members. I think he died of like a heart attack or something, but he was in such good shape, like you would never know. I mean, sometimes the people that have like, heart attacks are people you wouldn't think it would happen to. And then, uh, let's see what else. We lost Lewis Aaron like 2016. I think he committed suicide. And then we had Robbie Cohen, who died of a rare type of cancer. And then we lost Veronica and Bishop, who I was actually really close to. So that hit pretty hard, for a lot of my friends and I. Like, remember in the group chat we were talking about it, and it hit hard for us. It was a shock, and even to this day, it's a shock. I mean, even things like Flip's death is still a shock. I just sit there and like, wow, like I can't believe that black dude be dead. Like, I mean, it's a different type of grief losing a black dude. I mean, I didn't think that would happen to me in my 30s. Like, it's just kind of a weird age, like in my 30s, and like it's like, and it's like weird because friends of mine are dying. It's like, I don't know, it's like something I have to get used to. But Flip's death prepared me for that because, I mean, then again, there was classmates I lost before Flip's death, but still. But Natalie Capeles, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Correct me if I'm wrong. But she died, and I found out through a friend of mine from college who also you know someone I went to college with and a classmate, whatever. So she told me that she died of cardiac arrest, and I know she had been kind of struggling with her weight. She was kind of like on the heavy set kind of side, but she had the biggest heart, like and we didn't know that this was going on with her. We really didn't. We were not really prepared for it. I mean, even though we knew like Veronica had some, chronic conditions that were, but like with this was more of a shock. And I mean, it kind of reminds me a lot of Flip's death. It was a shock. We didn't know what was going on. Like when Flip died, like I remember like I had to hear from one of his friends, and you know, I know like it's kind of weird, like ever since like he died, like I talked to some of his family members, like it's kind of interesting, but I do think that grief kind of can bring us close together and can be a good way to have that camaraderie. I mean, it sounds like it's such a corny word, but it's true. But yeah, I mean, like these deaths have taught me to like accept life for what it is, and it really got me to thinking I've got to accept the situations I'm faced with as it is. And I was at a support group tonight. We were talking about forgiveness, and it got me to thinking that forgiveness is not about forgetting. Like, it's about moving forward and letting it go. Like, kind of just, and sometimes that means we have to take space to allow ourselves to do that. And, and I'm kind of in a situation right now. I left a certain group chat of mine because I was not feeling heard. I was not feeling validated, even though they do validate me and they do hear me, but in my distorted mind, and I'm a breaking point with certain things, and I'm just at the point where I need to take a step back, set a boundary, because I wasn't getting through to anyone. Like I really wasn't. Like but this recent death really got me to realizing that life is too short to hold grudges. So, I'm taking time to process, probably, reach out to those certain people and like, reconcile things, and, it'll all work out because we always work things out. And then, you know, um, I don't know. I feel like the energy has been distant anyway with people. So like, I think, but maybe in a way I'm being distant too. Like it's easy for me to judge, but sometimes I don't always respond to every good morning text someone sends me. I'm like, fuck that. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, I got shit to do. Like, so that's why I never judge someone who, well, it depends. Like, if they're not giving me the time of day, and like, it's like, okay, if it's been more than a few hours, it's like, okay, like, it's not like you're in jail. Like, like, seriously, like, when people pull that shit, and it's like, you know, but I get it. Like sometimes I just don't have the heads. I used to think the whole headspace thing was a bunch of bullshit. But it really isn't. I mean, if you think about it, there's some truth to it. But it's like some people abuse that and kind of use it as an excuse to like ghost or like stonewall somebody, like an argument, like hey girl. But at the end of the day, sometimes we aren't in the headspace to like to deal with people, and I'm kind of in a situation with certain people where I'm just not feeling their energy. And then again, I have a lot of friends that sorry, I gotta plug my computer in because it's about to die, and that's kind of important to do this cover. Oh yeah. Oh, it's in my drawer. I'll be right back. But all right, I'm back. So yeah, I mean, there's some times where I'm not in the right headspace, like someone's venting to me, and it's a busy lunch rush. A lot of my friends do that to me, and they're not intentionally trying to do it, but I'm just thinking, are you fucking kidding me? And then, when I'm on break, it's like they're nowhere to be found. But that's just how it is. Like, and sometimes we just need to take a break from certain group chats, like even with certain other group chats I have with like local friends, I'm just kind of like, I need to take a break from it. And it's nothing personal that they did, it's not really anything I intentionally did, but it's just like sometimes we need to unplug from that. And this is the first time I've ever like full on left a group chat. Like that's how I fed up. And I'm just going through a point where I'm just at my breaking point. And, but I know that the frustrations I have, well, they're not first world problems. I mean, compared to death, they are. But, you know, um, but we all have frustrations at the end of the day, and sometimes space is needed. I used to think that was bullshit, but I mean, sometimes we just need to be away from people because either we're not getting through to them or they're not, whatever. And sometimes it's just like when you said all you can say, and if it's not getting through to them, it's not getting through to them. But these deaths, of, I guess at this point, a couple of friends, have taught me that, I mean, tomorrow's not promised. I mean, it sounds like so cliche, but we could die tomorrow. Like, seriously, like we could, die tomorrow and not even wake up. Like, that's what I think a lot of us don't realize. Like, we just think, oh, well, like that person's like being a bitch, or they're being an asshole or whatever, and it's easy to like judge and be like, why are they being so fucking difficult? But like at the end of the day, like we don't know what's going on in their lives and when their last day is going to be, or our last day, you know what I'm saying? So like that's where like we have to realize that tomorrow's not promised. I mean, it really is one day at a time, and really all we have is today. And at the end of the day, we have to make the most of each day because we don't know when we're going to die. Like, and recently I've been noticing I've been living in the moment more because I've been really thinking, wow, like, I've experienced a lot of grief, in my 30s so far. And it's really been a very, what do you call it? Like, enriching moment. Like, I mean, it's fulfilling and purposeful because it's like, it's really a spiritual awakening. And, but I don't know, this energy with people, this narc energy, I'm not feeling it. Like, one minute people be all over my posts, and the next they just, it's like I don't exist. But you know what? It'd be like that. People be part-time, hey Lise, how's it going? I caught myself, I almost called you girl. But thank you for checking in. I appreciate it. I appreciate the people that take the time to check in without me having to repeat myself. I appreciate that because, there comes a certain point where there's only so much of that I can do. It's just like, it's a waste of time to keep, but it really made me realize that yes, although some people may be more frustrating to me than others, like, I still have to, pray for them and be kind because they may be going through things I have no idea about. And likewise, they don't know what else is going on in my life. I mean, just because I don't tell them, like, I used to think that was bullshit too. Like, like, oh, like, if I didn't, if people didn't tell me about it, that it's not happening. And now in retrospect, I can see how ridiculous that is because it's like, no, like, just because I don't talk, like, I don't really talk about things with my coworkers in my personal life, like, which is like, I've come a long way with that because at my first job, I would just tell them everything. And I've learned that you really want to be careful about who you tell your problems to because they might like use that against you. And I used to think that was bullshit as well, but it's really not if you think about it. But anyway, I'll get right into this. Yeah, I think that's important because I think we need to normalize checking in. It literally takes like 5 seconds out of someone's day. Like, people like use the excuse like, oh, like, I work a Monday through Friday job. It's like, yeah, so the fuck does everybody else, but you don't see that. And it's like, yeah, like, it doesn't matter what your hours are. It's like, it takes you less than 5 minutes to do that. That's what irks me about certain people. They're like, oh, we can't always check in. And then if I don't validate them, the second they want to be, they're narc ass, But whatever. Like, that's why I'm done with a certain individual who should be remain unnamed. Or actually, I don't know, a few people. And it's just like, it's like they're so part-time. And they don't intend to be, but, it's just like life gets busy. Responsibilities are bigger in our 30s, than before. I mean, there's more going on, and it's understandable. But people just abuse that. They abuse the whole busy thing. Like, oh, like, because it's like, if you think about it, everyone works full time, or even if they don't work exactly the amount of full time hours as someone else, they're still working a job at the end of the day. So it's like, you know what? Who cares? Nobody cares how much hours somebody works. They got shit to do. Like, but anyway, like, getting back into the more serious thing about this death. I mean, this hit hard. I mean, this is not the first classmate we lost in mental, and it hit hard. I mean, I think because it was such a shock, I think that's why it hits hard. Um, you know, but yeah, I mean, we all get busy, but it's really about priorities, and I think people just don't seem to get that. They don't seem to know what priorities are. But like, honestly, that's something I've been working on, is getting my priorities straight, because sometimes it's really hard to know what the actual priority is, because but then it's easy for me to judge and be like, they're not making me a priority, but I'm probably not always, making them a priority, but then again, they're not making me the priority. So, but we're all guilty of it. We're all guilty of not always having our priorities straight. Because I swear, like, my therapist told me that once. She's like, Tierney, you need to get your priorities straight. And yeah, I remember that time I broke down. But anyway, that's all irrelevant. But I'm going to get right into this and sing Amazing Grace for the wonderful Natalie Capeles, who I wish I had gotten to say goodbye to. I feel like a lot of the deaths I've experienced with friends, or like classmates / friends, is I've never got to say goodbye to them. I mean, even a lot of my grandparents, I didn't, but that's how it is. Like, you don't know when they're going to die. And I mean, that's something we have to realize. And we don't always we don't always realize, because, we don't think about that, But the fact of the matter is, no, like even we could die on the same day that we're like eating our food. You know what I'm saying? Like we could die in the middle of the day, we could die in the morning. Sorry, it's kind of dark. But no, in all seriousness, like we could be at work and die suddenly of a heart attack in front of our boss. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, like we could be on vacation and die. Like, okay, why am I saying this? But I'm not. I'm being for real here because like literally, like we could be on a cruise and die. We could, you know, like I could be singing covers and die. I mean, I'm the one with anorexia. Like, I could die of that shit. Like, I don't think I always realize that. I'm just like, well, like, I just want to be thin so I could be successful and all this bullshit, when really that is not a reflection of my self worth. And I've learned that, because, yeah, it's not everything's cracked up to be. Like, it's nothing like they say in the magazines. Like, being a size 0 is just bullshit. Like, it's really not everything it's cracked up to be. At the end of the day, nobody's gonna care what size you are because that's just bullshit, But but anyway, that's enough of that. So the Spanish teacher, yes, from Holy Child, where I went to high school and middle school, but she was a high school teacher. But nah, I hadn't seen her or talked to her in years. That's what's so sad. Like, and man, I don't think I had seen her much since I graduated, honestly. Like, the good thing is she lived a pretty long life. I mean, she still died pretty young, like maybe like late 60s or early 70s. I mean, she died of cancer. I'm not sure which. No, I didn't get to say goodbye to her. It was really sad. But yeah, anyway, I'm a do this. All right. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. The Lord has promised good to me. His word, my hope secure. He will my shield and portion be, as long as life endures. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, ways to sing God's praise. Then when